To be honest, I didn't even know what the word erotomania was until about a month ago. And we're really not even a month ago, like the beginning of this month. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, hi, my name is Zhariya, and I typically make commentary videos just like this one. I wanted to say happy spring to you guys. I hope you had a great St. Patrick's Day. I worked and just stared at all of the intoxicated people. It was really fun, funky, and fresh. Either way, so recently I watched the TV show You. I actually started watching it when it started airing in 2018, back when I was in high school. Either way, the TV show You came out in 2018, and it just finished season 4. I think the last part of it was uploaded in the beginning of March, something like that. And in the show You, this is a spoiler, a character gets caught, a stalker, if you will, that isn't Joe, weirdly enough. And she gets, blasted in the news saying that she was suffering from a disease called erotomania. A show called Swarm recently came out, made by Donald Glover and Janine Nabbers, the people who also made the show Atlanta, which I love that show. I could make a whole video on Atlanta because I binge watched it actually about a month ago. So I'm still on the Atlanta train. I love that show. But again, another show based on erotomania. Now, it's not directly referenced, but I do think that it kind of highlights erotomania from the perspective of a woman, and kind of how she navigates her life. Again, these two shows have extremely unreliable narrators, which is why I find this show to be both of the shows to be really interesting to kind of dissect and see what's real and what's not real. And I think that in general, like I have one video on parasocial relationships, and I have another video about the rise of loneliness online. So parasocial relationships can be something that's, a little bit dodgy. It's here or there, but it can be the source of a person waking up that day, is being able to see whatever random celebrity posts. For me, I used to get excited to wake up in the morning so I could see what Harry Styles wore to his concert last night, because this man has been on tour for 3 years. Not 3 years. But it's funny that I saw him in 2021. He is still on the exact same tour right now. But all this to say is that I used to be so depressed that all I would look forward to in the morning is seeing what Harry Styles wore at his concert, the night before. That was my source of joy at one point in my life. But also, it can turn into a dark, stalker like situation. And as a Harry Styles fan, we all know that there are some people that have been stalking Harry for a long time, looking at all of his shows, following him around the world, spending who knows how much money on these tickets. And it can be pretty dark. So imagine that you're watching a TV show where you yourself feel like you're in a relationship, but that relationship is based on delusion and obsession. So this is called, I don't know how to pronounce it. I'll put a thing on there.
De Clérambault's
I think it's
syndrome.
declarambal. You know what's really sad about this? So this is a fun fact about me. We're gonna get into the video, I swear, but this is like a random side note. I took French for 6 years of my life. I have done French on Duolingo as well after I graduated high school, because I wasn't actively taking French. But I used to write essays in French. I used to only watch TV shows in French and watch movies in French, YouTubers who spoke in French. And I don't even know how to pronounce this word. That's really embarrassing. This is also called erotomania, which is what I'm going to be calling it, because we already know I struggled with the one French word, which is really embarrassing for me. But I'm going to discuss about this mental illness, what it is, how it's kind of been loosely portrayed in media. Again, with you directly referencing a character experiencing this. By the way, there's going to be spoilers for both Swarm and You. I don't know if I mentioned that or not, but um, if you haven't watched it, watch it, I guess. I don't know. Or if you don't care about it, then I'll be spoiling it for you today. So, firstly, I wanted to talk about what is erotomania. So, erotomania is a very, very rare mental health disorder. So, this isn't like one of those things where if you go on TikTok and they say, if you have these 3 things, you have autism. Like, no, this is a very rare disorder, and you probably aren't experiencing it. If you think you are, you can, breathe and feel whatever. You can go to a therapist, talk to your therapist if you think that you may be having this, but this isn't one of those self-diagnosis situations. But it usually causes the sufferer or the patient to feel as though they're having a deep romantic relationship with a person. They may believe that they're dating that person. That person is sending them messages through media. Like, for instance, a person in an interview may say that they are in love with someone, and that person thinks that they're talking about them when they may actually be like married or in an actual real relationship. It typically is a celebrity or someone of high social status, though you can have this with a normal person or a person you may have seen on social media that, let's say, isn't a celebrity. But I think with the whole celebrity versus influencer thing, it's kind of been a little back and forth on what is a celebrity or versus what is not a celebrity. So it can be a normal person as well, but it's just more commonly seen when it is celebrity because that delusion can be more prevalent. They have a tendency or will likely stalk or harass that person. This is all an attempt to get closer to them. Despite them believing that they are in a relationship to them, they want to be close to them and they believe that they are in this weird relationship with them and they will eventually actually be together if they don't already believe that they are together. It's a really interesting and warped delusional disorder for sure. Now, oftentimes, the object of their affection or attraction or obsession doesn't even know who they are. They may have spoken to them once or interacted with them once online, but chances are that that person doesn't actually know them. Like, for instance, I don't really know any of you guys, or I might, depending on, that doesn't matter. What the point is that that person may not know them at all or have briefly spoken to them and like maybe like made eye contact once. Like, it's like one of those situations like they do not know you, and because of that they don't reciprocate feelings. Now it can develop, and for instance a person may be a stalker. The person who's being stalked may be like, oh, I'm being stalked by this person, and then they're aware of you, but it's not in the same way and it's not reciprocating those feelings. So it is more common in women, as opposed to men, though men have a tendency to be more violent and do those types of things, like we see with Joe, in a sense of wanting to protect the person that they believe they're in a relationship with, and exhibit those violent behaviors. So, the core symptom and the main thing with this disorder is, like I said, the individual holds this unshakable belief that they are in a relationship with this person that they've never met. Also, a person with the condition may also believe that they have multiple secret admirers or multiple people that are secretly in love with them, but typically it's just one person that they kind of fixate their attention on. Now, I will say that this can also be coinciding with other mental health disorders as well. So, a person can experience delusions, like literal, like seeing things, hallucinations, um, and they do see things like, oh, a person like they move in weird ways, like body posture. They might think that's a sign that they're trying to speak with them. They see like household colors. They look at, like, for instance, a person may look at this and see that I have blue and pink lights, and they may think that I'm trying to signal something to them that I want to speak to them, or that I'm trying to hint at my love for them. Um, they may see license plates. They may see kind of like in that thing of like, whenever a person is very spiritual and they see things like angel numbers or seeing the same car multiple times and they think, oh my gosh, this is a sign from the universe. This is kind of in a similar light. Like, a person is seeing these signs from this person that may or may not be real in the first place. Mostly isn't, but I'm not saying that angel numbers aren't, but I'm saying that kind of concept of seeing signs and thinking that that means something. Like, it may not. And some of these delusions can be very, very scary, such as a person maybe hypothetically believing that, Beyonce had her 3 kids. They may believe that they are the ones who impregnated Beyonce and that that child is theirs, or imagining a fake pregnancy, or kidnapping children, um, things of that nature, just to feel as though they're closer to that person. This isn't just one of those quirky little BuzzFeed quizzes. Do you have erotomania or not? Like, no, it's a serious condition. But I do think that not every single Harry Styles fan has this, obviously. I mean, Harry fans are interesting, but definitely, probably maybe one in like the, I don't know, 300 million people that are Harry Styles fans probably has this condition. But I think that with the normalization of stan culture and even the concept of seeing, because even if you think about like in the 60s and 70s, kind of also the 80s, the whole groupie culture and, having the same group of people follow this one band around, it's not a bad thing. Well, it can be a bad thing, an abuse of power perhaps, but I think that some people believe that they have a relationship, let's say with Harry, and they believe that they're entitled to camp out in front of his venue for 3 days so they can be at the barricade to like make eye contact with him once, to breathe the same air as him. You have people who are fans, extreme fans of like BTS, who will camp outside of their concert, just sit outside and listen to the concert and feel like they're connected to them or close to them. You have people who have, for instance, in Swarm, it gets referenced as when that person, who I believe was in Love and Basketball, they met Beyonce and they bit her because they just were so attached and felt so about Beyonce. Um, and it's specifically in the shows You and Swarm, which I'm going to be talking about today, we see that pretty heavily, like how this delusion can be really, really scary. So first, erotomania has been portrayed in a lot of TV shows and films, books, the whole, 9 yards. Now, the most well known examples are Play Misty for Me, which was in 1971, where the protagonist is stalked by a woman who has this condition. We have Fatal Attraction from 1987 that features a character with erotomania that becomes obsessed with the man she had a brief affair with. We also had a string of movies. I mean, for instance, for me, my favorite erotomania movie is 1,000% Obsessed with Beyonce. Not only was I a huge Beyonce fan in 2009, I love that movie. I literally would watch it so many times to the point to where it would be annoying. I could quote the movie right now, I bet, if I wanted to. Now, You started airing in 2018, and it has gained attention for the portrayal of erotomania, specifically seen in Joe. Now, what's interesting about Joe is that he has had erotomania for multiple different women, and potentially man. I think he has. I think he does have it specifically for Reese Montrose, which I'll talk about in a second. Oftentimes, we see him, see a person, out in the wild, and he decides that person's gonna be his you. He speaks to you during the show. He's a very interesting narrator for sure. And we see him kind of go through the efforts of protecting that person, stalking that person. A lot of times, he eventually ends up actually having a relationship with that person, and instead of the erotomania kind of stopping, he then turns into this overprotective, like has to kill every person that he thinks is at jeopardy to their relationship or to that person in general. Has multiple love interests. The main one for season 1 was Guinevere Beck. Season 2 was Love Quinn. Season 3 was a bunch of different people at different times, but the main one was Marianne. And then in season 4 was Reese Montrose, which is really interesting because you don't really find that out towards the end. He has this really weird obsession with Reese and he finds this connection to him, though they have only met twice. I think 3 times actually. But he imagines Reese is talking to him. That's kind of like a really intense version. Like he actually imagines that he is friends with Reese and that Reese follows him around, that Reese is actually the kill the rich killer when actually it was him the whole time and he was imagining this relationship with Reese the whole time, which is pretty interesting. I don't think Reese was in a romantic way. It could have been, but the show kind of frames it as that it's not romantic, but I think that it probably was romantic and he was just kind of hiding his feelings.
I'm so convinced that Lady Phoebe was her friend. She tattooed her own arm, knew all the details of her life, where she lived, her favourite restaurants. Certain Phoebe was sending her messages. Kidnapped her, tortured her, accidentally killed. I'm so sorry. I've got a little mixed up.
Please cut the bullshit. I don't know what you were saying.
The real Eat the Rich killer is also an erotomaniac.
It's really weird with Joe because he will vividly imagine himself being with these women or these people. He will stalk them, like I mentioned before, take possessions of theirs, such as underwear. He will tap their phones and stalk them like that, follows them. And it's kind of like, what does he do during the day? Because like he should have a job, but he somehow never has a job, but is always finding time to stalk all these people. Um, he goes to great lengths to insert himself into their lives. Like his objective is, I'm going to stalk them just enough to get them to like me, find out just enough about them, and then, so on and so forth. So Joe's behavior is a clear example of how dangerous and harmful this attraction can be. I mean, erotomania, the average person may never actually get to physically see the person that is the center of their obsession, but this is a case of where Joe gets the people that he's obsessed with and then starts murdering people around them. And then eventually he finds out the person that he's been attached to for all this time isn't necessarily perfect. And then he goes around and murders them. We see that with Gwen. We see that with Love. We see that with so many people. We see that with he believes that Marianne died, but actually she got away safely. He murdered Reese. It's just a constant theme with him, and it's really interesting that need to protect that weird obsession and the stalking and things of that nature. But next, I want to do a pivot and I want to talk about the show Swarm. So, Swarm features the main character, Dre, played by Dominique Fishback, who is an amazing actress. She's so good in this show. It follows her. She is an interesting character because she has this extreme connection to the singer Nyjah. Now, Nyjah, she's met Nyjah once, in a very interesting interaction, but Dre believes that she is connected to Nyjah and that Nyjah is secretly sending her messages through her music. And if they ever did meet in person, and Dominique or Dre knows that she has never actually met Nyjah, but whenever she goes around, she says Nyjah is her friend, that she believes that her and Nyjah are connected. And I think that Dre is more grounded in reality when speaking to others. But I do still think that she suffers from this condition because she genuinely believes that Nyjah and her are destined to be either, whether it's together romantically, to be best friends, to be seen as family members, whatever the case may be. But Dre is so blinded by her love with Nyjah that she doesn't actually appreciate her life and kind of goes on a huge rabbit hole, you know, snowball effect. Now, Nyjah is the Beyonce in their universe, and this specifically references the time of 2016 to 2018 where Beyonce released Lemonade. If you guys don't remember, when people found out that that Jay-Z cheated on Beyonce, people were actually unaliving themselves because of the horror, because people were thinking that if Beyonce could get cheated on, then they have no chance in life. But in reality, any person can get cheated on, and that just is what it is. It's never the person being cheated on, it's the person that's cheating. And that's just, is what it is. But people were literally unaliving themselves because of that. People listened to Lemonade and they had a really hard time with it. And this specifically, Chloe Bailey's character, played by Marissa Jackson, it is believed that she quote unquote unalived herself, and online people were saying that it was because of Nyjah's, what was it called, festival or whatever. It's Lemonade. But I personally believe that Dre is the one that killed Marissa, mostly because her parents believe that Dre killed Marissa, and also the fact that Dre has access to her phone and has that kind of delusional detachment. It's very clear that Dre has a attachment to Marissa. They are ex stepsisters, as though her family adopted her and then sent her back to the foster home. They are very close friends, and I think that Dre likes Marissa. Like, Dre is in love with Marissa. I mean, when Marissa is having an intimate moment with her partner, Dre is just sitting there staring. And Marissa's partner believes that Dre has a crush on him, but in actuality, Dre has a crush on Marissa. And Dre goes to such the lengths of her attachment to Marissa that she detaches her brain and makes herself think that she didn't murder Marissa, and that Marissa, had this whole situation and found out that her boyfriend was cheating on her and, unalived herself and was messaging Dre while Dre was out having a good night. And I do believe that that happened, but I think that Dre messaged herself from Marissa's phone when she was in her detached state, such as Joe gets when he was in season 4 of You, where he was detached and didn't know that he was actually the killer. She's kind of living this fantasy. We also see this even more whenever Dre finally does see Nyjah. She sees Marissa's face in Nyjah as opposed to Nyjah's actual face. So Dre is pretty interesting because she kind of centers her whole life around Nyjah. She actually would go on Twitter and she would start murdering people who she believed were talking horribly about Nyjah, and says the iconic line, "Who is your favorite artist?" before really, unaliving these people.
Who is your favorite artist?
I could play a clip, not of the unaliving, but I can kind of play a clip of what I'm talking about right here.
Then why did you say she couldn't keep a man happy?
I didn't say that. I didn't.
But you did. And I got the receipts.
Nigga. Twitter?
She's trying to protect Nyjah in her eyes. Like, she believes that she has to do this in order to get closer to Nyjah and to, help save Nyjah, whatever the case may be. Even going to a Cash concert, and Cash is their version of Jay-Z, just to get close to Nyjah. And then when she does get close to Nyjah, she bites her. I do believe that this show is a lot deeper than just saying, oh, Dre has erotomania and we kind of push it to the side. I think that they're using erotomania as a plot device in order to kind of understand and kind of get to the deeper meanings of the television show. I think it's really interesting, and I think that Donald Glover and Janine Nabbers weren't trying to call out the Beehive. I think that the Beyonce fans are pretty scary, and I'm not even a fan of Beyonce anymore because it's a little bit toxic and a little bit scary. Same with Nicki Minaj. I don't align with the Barbs because it's just a little bit too toxic and scary. And I don't think anyone's going to show up to my house and try to unalive me for saying anything badly about Nicki Minaj or Beyonce. But I do think that it's kind of one of those things that we see, like, fans can be a little bit intense. And even in the fake documentary episode 6, one of the Beyonce or Nyjah fans, wearing full Ivy Park, which is the funny part, says, I don't think that I would, murder anyone for Nyjah, but then questions it. So obviously, the people who have erotomania are very, very rare. And I don't think that every single person has erotomania. I think that Dre, fictional character, does for sure. Joe absolutely does. The stalker character in You, who was revealed to have erotomania, who was stalking Princess Phoebe. I think that it's interesting, and no one really knows what causes erotomania. I think if you were to do a random poll on how many people thought they were attached to, like, Zendaya, Billie Eilish, Kim Kardashian, Kylie Jenner, any of those people, I'm sure people believe that they're speaking to them through their songs, through whatever acting positions they're doing. I mean, people really connected to Rue's character in Euphoria. People were thinking, oh, you know I feel like this was made for me. And I think that's the point of art, is we're supposed to feel connected. We're supposed to feel like something is made for us. Like, the amount of times when I was younger that I would listen to music and I would think that this song was written for me. Like, this person writing this song knew me and they knew that they were writing this song for me. And I know that's not true because I just have no original experience in my life, literally at all. I know that especially because of TikTok. That it's this weird sense of closeness that you feel with the person for having a message that resonates with you. And I don't think that that's messed up, and I don't think that that's something that should be seen as bad, because a song, if it fits you and you like it, then, like, it's a song that you like, and that's, great. But it's when we get to that second level, that elevated level of stalker behavior and believing that you're connected to someone that you've never met, is where the delusion starts. I think that the problem is, and I mentioned this in my video about parasocial relationships, is that because we are so connected to our favorite celebrities, like, I think about even, like, the Bling Ring, who would rob celebrities' houses. And that was kind of a big thing because, like, oh, celebrities shouldn't put their houses online, but it's like, you have no choice, you're a celebrity. But we're so connected to everyone online. And even if it comes down to a person looks at your Instagram story, that's like a closeness that you feel. You get so excited, you're like, oh my gosh, so and so just saw my Instagram story. People just have this weird connection to celebrities, and it can be a good thing, but it can also be a very, very bad thing. Many people see, for instance, there are so many people that see political figures as a savior to them. They see them as a closeness with them, like with Ron DeSantis or Donald Trump or Marjorie Taylor Greene. People have a connection to any sort of public figure. And I kind of understand why celebrities, and I think I would do the same thing, hiding their children from the media or hiding their personal lives, because it's like they don't want people to get too close to them, because it can turn into that stalker mentality and not feeling safe anymore. And not that the person who has erotomania would literally unalive the person that they're obsessed with, but it's like, in the case of both Joe and with Dre, if everyone around you starts dying because of this stalker person that wants to get close to you, that's even more scary. Like, that's more terrifying. And even recently, there have been a lot of content creators, influencers, and so forth that have been having stalkers following them wherever they go. And obviously they're not huge celebrities, but content creators are so much closer to their audience. Like I worry about, Emma Chamberlain, who would vlog her entire life as though everyone was her friend. I kind of wonder, like, does she have any stalkers, any person that believes that they're in this weird relationship with Emma Chamberlain or that they're best friends that they just need to meet? Now, these portrayals of erotomania are obviously for dramatic effect. And I don't want to say that a person who's suffering with it right now is an insane person, that, any of that stuff. But I am saying that we're seeing it a lot more in media. And I think that it's important to kind of look inward and kind of see, these are very dramatic reenactments, but in reality, it probably starts at something very small, like looking at a post on Instagram and being like, oh, this person looks pretty. And then going down that snowball effect of watching their every single move. The media in general likes to sensationalize mental health online. I mean, I haven't made a video directly on it, but I have mental health issues. I don't know if you could tell. But it's kind of really difficult seeing how the media can portray people who have the sort of illnesses that I have, because it's kind of like demonizing things of that nature, or even like showing things like depression and people not even understanding that depression is a lot deeper than just not brushing your teeth. Like, people have really deep issues when it comes to depression, or even ADHD gets characterized incorrectly, which I have ADHD. It's not just bouncing off the walls like a 5-year-old boy. Like, it's a lot deeper, a neurological issue. It also can give a negative impact for those people who have been, stalked, harassed, etc. I think that it's also giving people ideas. Obviously, like it says, violent video games, things of that nature, don't cause people to be violent, but it gives people ideas on how to be creative, on how to stalk or follow or do any of that stuff to the people that they are attached to. So in reality, stalking is really dangerous. Harassment is very scary. And if you are a person who is suffering from that, I literally have a mutual who has had a stalker for a minute, and it's honestly really scary. That person has started to look at things that I do and follow me all the time and not send me any messages, but it's really scary. And I'm not even the one being stalked. I'm just, because I know the person, I think in general it's pretty interesting to talk about. But I guess my final thoughts are, erotomania is a very serious condition, and it's not something that can just be flippantly thrown around as like, oh, this person has that. I think stan culture can be a little dangerous, because stan stands for stalker fan. It's not something that should be aspired to be. Being an extreme fan of something doesn't mean that you're a bad person. But I do think that if you are experiencing that to where you have to spend every waking moment looking at your favorite band or person, I think it's just a point to look inward and kind of see if you are kind of slipping into that delusion a little bit. Like, make sure to be safe, make sure to talk to your favorite mental health professionals, and make sure that you're all good squared away. There isn't another underlying issue. But yeah, I guess that's literally it. I don't really have much to say. I've been talking for about an hour, so this is going to be fun to edit. I hope you guys liked this video, and if you did, make sure to give it a big thumbs up, because it does help little channels like mine. Make sure to subscribe to me as well. I really want to get to 10,000 subscribers. Like, that's my goal for this year, and I'm really, really close. Well, I'm like 800 off, but I'm close to where I'm like, oh my gosh, this can actually happen. So if you want to subscribe to me, please do. And yeah, I guess that's literally it. So make sure to stay happy, stay healthy, and stay safe. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.